Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. My name is Legally Naiya and today's going to be a little bit different. We're just going to sit down and have a talk. I was going to do a mukbang, but realistically I do not feel like driving to the store, getting food and coming home just to make this video. And this video is something that I've been trying to make. So I'm going to focus on the intentionality of the video versus what's going on in this video. And today I want to talk about what is your legacy and what do you plan to leave behind when you're gone and once you pass away. I think nowadays, especially in this generation, a lot of people are more concerned about how they're perceived, what their image is, and how they show up online versus who are you in real life? What is the impact you have left? What is the impact you will leave? And are you thinking about the impact that you're putting out in this world? Ever since I was young, I have been very intentional about who I am, how I move, and what impact and legacy I wanted to leave. So today I want to ask you the question, what legacy are you leaving behind? And the reason why we're talking about this is because I just passed the bar, yes, but also one of my closest bonds in my life passed away, Jymetre Larmar Hester. And when I look at his life, I automatically know the legacy he left. Football. And that is something he's always planned on doing because I've known Jymetre since we were little kids and like 15 years old. While everyone got to see the final product, I got to see him become. And that is one of the most special things in my heart. And although he passed away, it makes me wonder for other people of our generation, what legacy are you leaving behind? And if you don't know, think about it. A legacy doesn't have to be being a big influencer, having 10 million followers, or how big your friend group is. A legacy can be as simple as people remembering your kindness, people remembering your heart, people remembering how strong your relationship was to God, people remembering that you are a person who always gave back. A legacy does not have to be financial or visible in a physical medium. It can be simply how you live. And it's important for everyone to think, how do you want to be remembered? And who do you want to be while you are alive? My goal in life has always been to live a very meaningful life, a very intentional life, and a very selective life of people who align with me and don't make me feel like I am less of who I am and support me in my vision mentally, spiritually, emotionally. People who genuinely love and support you. And that's the one good thing I can say about my life is I always make sure that if somebody's in my life, they are truly people who belong there and bring me some form of peace. So I want to ask you, are you living a life worth living? Of course, every life is valuable, but when you ask yourself, is the place you are in life where you want to be, or is the person you are who you want to be? And I want you to know that you have the full capability to change and to become whoever you want in a new version of yourself. You don't need permission to become the person you always knew you were destined or want to be. You simply start by being, and people will soon start to recognize and see you for who you really are. I want to encourage a lot of people to decide to live a meaningful life, to build values around your life, and to make sure that emotionally you are present with yourself and the people around you. Because when you pass away, it doesn't matter how much money you had. It's about the lives you touched. And simply sometimes just being who you are touches others' lives. And that's how and who Jymetre was for me. I don't think Jymetre really understood the impact he had on my life. One, because he's a man and I'm a woman. And I just feel like a lot of people just see that kind of relationships and just simplify it. But there's really people that God brings into your life. And I think Jymetre was one of them for me. First of all, we had a similar upbringing than most of the people around us because we have a different kind of childhood and a different kind of expectations that came from our family. And we always understood that with each other. We always understood that things were expected from us. We were taught to aim high. And I'm so glad that he did. When we were young, we've always both been ambitious. And we made a lot of sacrifices to get to where we need to be and where we are. And even though we never knew how we were going to get there, one thing I can always say about me, but more specifically Jymetre, because I want to make this video honoring him, is that he did exactly what he said he would. And as somebody who known him for the last 10 years, he became that and more. I've never seen him give up. I've always seen him keep going. I know he's had hard days. I know that life was also happening to him too because life happens to everybody, but he never stopped pursuing his dreams. And that's how I see myself. And I feel like the reason why he left such a big impact on me is because it's very rare to be really young. Mind you, we're like 15 years old when we're talking about becoming something in life. And we honestly, truly decided and when we were young to focus on becoming what we wanted and fulfilling our dreams, and that if we ever could, we will see where we're at after wherever we end up to see if we could ever really be. But in the meantime, we just had like an undeniable bond. He was there for my darkest times and my brightest, and he saw me even with the things I didn't say. He knew when sometimes I would get feisty with him or we would have our moments, that it wasn't from a bad place, that a lot of the things were really coming from care on both sides. There was times where he was mad at me for little things or just certain things, and I realized it's better to have a person who at least cares about you in your life versus somebody who'll never call you out, push those buttons sometimes. So Jymetre impacted my life, and as a woman, as a person, he was just like my biggest support when it came to like, okay, I have somebody in this with me. As we got older, we couldn't talk every day because he was in football, I was in law school. We were always just living in different stages of life, but it was just a simple fact in knowing that me and him were on the same path. It was basically like us just always telling each other, see you at the top. And that is how we lived. And I just feel like that makes our bond so special, because it's like our relationship was less about seeing each other every day, constant communication, texting every 5 seconds. It was just about being seen. And I seen him and he seen me. I know his silent struggles, he knew mine. And just those things that you didn't even have to explain to people, like there's some friends who just get you. And he was a person who just got me. So Jymetre, I just want to make this video to say you left an impact on my life as well. In this talk of legacy, I also want people to understand that in order to build a strong legacy for yourself or your family, it is important to make sure that inside you are internally happy. Even me, as I build and as I keep doing YouTube and growing in the law and networking and putting myself out there, I always have to have moments with myself where I'm just not always worried about the next step in life. But okay, Naiya, do you realize you're living in some answered prayers? Take a moment. Do you realize that you prayed for this spot? Do you realize that you were once wondering how you were going to graduate at the same time as a full-time student when you were part-time and you did it? Do you recognize that even though, yes, you keep aiming high, that you are also fulfilling things in the moment? So this is just a reminder that as you keep building, as you keep going, don't be afraid to stop and rest and take in what you're actually doing constantly as well. Life is hard. So when you're aiming high, don't undermine those little accomplishments either. Next, I want to talk about building a relationship with God, the creator of this world. God will bring you a lot of peace in this life, and having your own personal relationship. This isn't about going to church or reading your Bible, which is good and handy and important, but this is about your own salvation. Do you really believe there's a God? Do you really believe that life after death, you will rise again, that you will be with your heavenly Father? And I will say that even with the situation with Jymetre, which I am very much struggling with, I believe in God. And I don't understand why this happened. I don't think I'll ever get that answer, and I don't feel like I'll ever try to. I'm just more in the stage of life where I'm accepting it. I grieve. And when I'm out living, there's a lot of times where I'm like, I need 5 minutes to cry really quickly. Even when I go to the beach, I'll be in the water and I'll take 5 minutes to feel it and grieve and go through the emotion. And then I'll tell myself, ground yourself again. But I really want everyone to really start thinking about who you are as a person and what impact you want to make in this world. Me personally, I've always wanted to be known as a person who, of course I'm gonna always make sure that I'm filling my own cup. But I've always wanted to, when I become more successful, because I already am, you have to claim it, power of the tongue, manifestation. But as I'm wealthy, I want to make sure that if there's potholes in the street, I'd be the type of person to fix the pothole. I'd be the type of person to give back. I'd be the type of person that when somebody was having a dark moment, they knew I was there. When life got rough, I'm not the friend to abandon you. I also want to be known as an attorney who was great and loved what she did. And I also want to be known as an attorney who people felt comfortable to go to, and always never feel judged and know that I am an ear for them as a client. I am a good mom. And even with my son, there's mom guilt when you're a career woman sometimes, but I know the legacy I want to leave behind, and that's also why I do YouTube. I want to create a path. My YouTube has been about showing people who look like me or first generation attorneys that there is someone out there like you creating a way who's been through things, which is why I'm sitting here today talking about one of the closest people to me and their death, because I feel like people could see you and think like, oh, you have everything. But I've had struggles in my life. My closest friend in 6th grade was terminally ill and died right after high school. My male friend committed suicide and took his life when I was in law school. My cousin, when she was only a couple years out of high school, got sick with cancer and passed away. Both my grandmas came to America with nothing and built a legacy so that we cannot go through what they went through as immigrants. So don't just see my life and think it's great. Somebody once told me your life is perfect, or they perceive my life as perfect because of all the opportunities I have. But the truth is I'm human, and I believe I'm human first. I cry just like you, and I'm a person too. I like if you think I inspire you. I love that. But I don't like to be idolized because one, don't ever idolize anybody. We are all imperfect. We all go through things and we all mess up sometimes. The only person you should be idolizing and giving the praise to is God. That doesn't mean you don't get to uplift the people who have, also shown you the way or, impacted your life like I'm doing for Jymetre today. But it's important to just understand that impact they brought to you. You were meant to meet them because you were meant to see whatever God wanted you to receive from that person. And that's why I want to say, Jymetre Larmar Hester, your legacy lives through me and your legacy will never leave. That's why I'm putting it on YouTube. That's why it's on the internet now. So even when I go one day, our legacies are intertwined and people can know the impact you had on my life. Jymetre was an awesome and an amazing football player, although I know him more outside of football, but just even going to his funeral, seeing how much people praised him on the field. But I want to give you your praise off the field. Jymetre, not only did you inspire me to keep becoming, because you gotta be a little delusional to see so high. And that's why I feel like we brought each other a lot of comfort because we know that we're delusional. We see something that's like God planted this in our heads. But he was a great football player and that was the legacy he wanted to leave. And I just want to say you fulfilled that. When I went to his funeral, it was so nice to hear how much people seen the legacy because I know people just seen him as a football player who worked hard, but I'm telling you, we had convos when we were like 16, like, we're gonna do this. Like, okay, you get at the top with education and wherever you want to go because at first I wanted to be a doctor, so that was the goal. And then for him, I'm like football. And before you guys just seen us become these people who like did YouTube and put yourself out there and Jymetre is like a college football player. We were just once little kids who believed in each other. And I got to see the final product of him, but I also got to see the beginning of him. And I feel like that's why our friendship is hard because, when you get to see somebody blossom and become a great person and to know you were a part of that story, it's amazing. And to know that even through life, you guys remained close. You guys remained up to date. I knew when he was going to Orlando to play for Bethune-Cookman. I knew when he was going to FAU. I knew when he went from Wellington to Glade Central. We've never stopped talking despite being in different places of life. And it just makes me realize, because you'll have friends nowadays and people are really for seasons, but it's like he was somebody that even if we were in every single chapter, we were in each other's life. And that was the most important part. And even the week he passed away, he called me. And it was the most beautiful conversation we've probably had in a long time. And I feel like that was God giving me closure. Right now I'm wearing black and red because this was the color of his first funeral. And I also am so thankful that I got to wear black and red with him at the funeral as well because I hit up his friend because I don't know the people in his chapter right now, but I still went because I've seen him through every season and I'm gonna be there from the beginning to the end. That's just the type of person I am. And just for me to be the one matching with him and 5 other people let me know even though the friend might have not knew our relationship, it represented what me and him have always known, that we were deeper than a lot of things. I'm very sad that he's gone. I've never imagined my life without him, to be real. Because even this part that I'm finally in right now, we've always discussed, this was the goal as a 15-year-old kid. We literally were okay, when everything's said and done, we're going to enjoy, we're going to, live. And that was essentially our last call. Me telling him that I'm finally waiting for my bar results, they're coming out in 2 weeks. And him just telling me that he's finally in the chapter of life where he was ready for consistency and a family. And, we did the building. It was time to kind of reap the sacrifices we made as children. And, same week he passed away. So I've been grasping that. I feel like I've also realized through his funeral that me and him have a very different relationship than most of his friends. Most of his friends know him from like football and being teammates, and I know that he loves them because football was his life, to the point where we decided that we need to put those things first, football and, for me, my career. And we finally got to this point where we were able to kind of see each other again and want to do that. And then unfortunately he passed away. So I made this video to just want to put out there that when Jymetre Larmar Hester, I love you. I can still feel you. I think about you constantly, and you are a part of me. So all the people who benefit from my videos, from watching me, just know that I was just a crazy girl who also had a crazy boy in my life, who became a man in front of my own eyes, who pushed me. And I wouldn't even say pushed me in ways like with words, but just seeing him be just as delusional and pursue. And we thought the sky was the limit. And so that's the impact you made on my life, Jymetre. I'm going to continue to reach the sky for both of us. And I want everybody to drop 4s in the comments. That is his football jersey number. And I just want to personally say thank you for all the moments you were with me, because the hardest thing I went through in my life, he never left me when I needed it. He might have not been able to be physically there, but every conversation we had, our phone calls, our random FaceTimes, him just always knowing that, like, I know she's good, but let me make sure she's good. And it's hard to have this friend. So I'm grieving him in many ways, our bond, and just even the person in my life who was kind of like my rock in my own way. So really, guys, I'm glad that you got to leave the legacy you wanted. Jymetre, you are being remembered as a great football player. But I also want to tell people that he wasn't just a football player. He was a man who was kind, who heard you, who seen you, who was gentle with you, who knew the unspoken and didn't have to ask. He was a guy who was there, and he was a guy who was loyal. So Jymetre, I miss you. I would wish I could do anything to have you here today, because it doesn't sit right in my heart that you left in your 20s at 24 years old. So I want everyone to know, it's long live Jymetre Larmar Hester. I want you to know that he was a great man just as much as a great football player. And I want everybody to know that grief will change you. And it's hard to go through, but I really believe in leaning on the people who love that person just as much. So, check in with each other, talk to people, and for the people who knew Jymetre, he was creating a legacy. He was a legacy, and he lived a legacy. And I think the best thing we can do is keep building our legacies and keep starting and never stopping what he started and what we started for ourselves. And we'll finish the story and pass on the torch to the next person who's inspired off us. So make the impact you want to see in life. Legally Naiya. Legally Naiya. Miss you, Jymetre.